how's it going? I'm Jules Leyhe. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how I use a volume pedal. This might be the question I get the very most is, how do you use a volume pedal? But not just how does one use a volume pedal, how do I use a volume pedal? If you're familiar with any of my videos or any live performances, you know that it's an integral part of my sound. So I want to talk about that in today's video. But before I go any further, I'd love to recommend that you check out my Derek Trucks slide guitar masterclass video. This is 2.5 hours of really in-depth coverage of Derek Trucks' slide guitar style. Techniques he uses, licks from his extensive vocabulary. We transcribe his actual licks, and I break them down at great length for you guys in this video. So please check that course out. I know that you're going to get a lot from it. Now, the volume pedal. Just to sort of explain my rig here really quick, all I've got is my Mulecaster, which is capo 2. I'm in open E tuning, but I have a capo at the 2nd fret just so it sounds F sharp. And I just kind of like putting a capo around the neck and playing in different open keys. So that's what that's there for. I'm in F sharp at this point. And I just have my Mulecaster plugged into my Dunlop Volume X volume pedal. And it's going right into my super reverb amp, which is cranked up to 10. It's cranked up all the way. And so that there aren't any other stomp boxes or anything going on. All the distortion that you hear is just from the amp that's cranked up all the way. So that part of it has a lot to do with how I use a volume pedal. An important part of my sound is that if I have it sort of opened up all the way, which I mean by that is the volume knob on my guitar opened up, turned up all the way, and toe down on the volume pedal, that would be like the full signal. That, in this case, is a pretty distorted sound. You absolutely get more distorted for sure. So here's my sound turned up all the way. Guitar is up all the way, foot pedal's up all the way, and the amp, as I said, is still on 10. So let's hear how that sounds first. So you can see that's got that's a big sound that I'm working with. That's a huge part of what's key about how I use a volume pedal. So if you're using a volume pedal and it's just a clean sound, it's just going to have a different range that we're working with if you manipulate the volume, in the middle of a line. Or just, the thing that I get out of the volume pedal the very most is cleaning up the sound. And then when I want to, I can emphasize or really express a note by stepping into the note. I mean, I do literally mean stepping in, like giving it more oomph with your foot. And this note sort of blooms, coming from the less distorted to more gain. So I'm going to demonstrate that, but that is kind of the biggest thing that I see is missing with people that are asking me about how I use a volume pedal and how I get the notes to sort of, there's this like kind of incredible thing that ends up happening when we get these notes that are so dynamic, right? Now my hands can just play and my foot can really take care of a lot of the dynamic control. My hands are still responsible for that, but the foot has a say too. So let me just play a little bit. And this is a great way of acquainting yourself and getting to know a new technique, a new pedal. I'm not really worried about the rules or, I'm not playing in time or anything. I'm just kind of fiddling and noodling with my guitar because I'm focusing right now on the volume pedal. And let me just play a bit and then we'll talk about it, okay? So you can see I tried to, like I said before, I'm just worrying about the sound that I'm generating right now. So I'm generally just playing licks. That wasn't one song. I'm just trying to get a sound together on its own. Something that I tried to do there a fair amount of is both play with it wide open, so just all the way up, and then, kind of exploring the range in between. Now, the thing about this is that it's more of a concept than a really quantifiable thing. This is a feel thing if there ever was one. I do not, I'm really not giving my foot much thought while I'm playing. And at first, this might feel like, well, shoot, Jules, slide guitar is hard enough. I've got my right hand doing this. I've got my left hand doing this. How on earth do I get my foot doing something at the same time? I understand that, that thought. But I would recommend that you just start practicing with it. And you don't have to be writing every single note. That's actually kind of something I'd recommend you don't do is, if you're playing a part, let's say you're playing like a rhythm part behind a singer. You don't want that to be going, oh, well, now it's really distorted, and then it's really quiet. And then it's really, that's part of the bed of the song. You're supporting somebody. You need to kind of find your spot and stick to it. So that's a really good time when to not have your foot living on the volume pedal, right? Now, a good time to have it living on the volume pedal is maybe if you're playing like a slow blues and you want to be really expressive with every single note that you're playing. Let me demonstrate some of that. So here's like a little bit of slow blues. And again, that's about all I'm going to give myself as far as rules to follow. Slow blues, and now I want to see how much expression I can get between the loud parts being loud and really kicking ass to the soft parts being soft and, really nice and clean and delicate. So let's see. Again, I'm not turning on and off 5 different stomp boxes and have my sound, from all these pedals or anything. It's just my hands sending the message through the guitar. There's a foot pedal, the volume pedal, and it's going to the amp that's cranked. This sort of reduction of stuff and simplifying your tone, simplifying, your signal is really important to get the tone that you're looking for. At least I've found that this is a recipe for success. So here is a little bit of exploring the dynamic range of the volume pedal with some slow blues playing. And again, I'm in the key of F sharp. So if you want to pick up any of these licks or anything, that's where I am. You don't have to capo 2 to play in this key, but that's what I've done. So anyway, here's a little bit of that slow blues playing in F sharp. So you can see, this is when I'm figuring a technique or an idea out, or just a way of making sounds. It's funny because with all this stuff, it turns into like, well, what song are you playing? What key are you in? And I like to zoom way out as far as just getting comfortable with something like using a volume pedal. I don't worry about that for a while. I need to acquaint myself in this way where I'm just trying stuff. I might limit it to one string or, one note, one lick. And actually, to demonstrate that right now, this is what I'm talking about. Let me show you just exactly what I'm talking about, because this sort of isolating of a sound, a new pedal you get, and I know I'm talking about not having pedals, but I am using the volume pedal here, so this sure counts. But check this out. Here's just like one really simple idea, and I'm just going to explore how cool it can be by doing it dynamically differently because of the volume pedal. Here's this concept that I'm trying to illustrate for you. A little bit more on the volume pedal now. A little bit more. Now all the way. Back down. Right? That last one was the most night and day of the bunch. Just all the way down, pretty much all the way down, just up enough so that we can hear it, and then toe down all the way, and I'm just playing, really digging into the strings. So that conceptually, like I was saying, that's basically as simple as it gets. And I really would isolate just playing a lick like I just played. Try playing one idea, one little lick, one phrase. Quiet, sort of middle, and then all the way up. And then see how much variance you can get between those three sort of stages. There aren't any notches with a volume pedal, right? It's a spectrum. So I made up those places. There's a generally lower volume, middle volume, and then high. But this is a feel thing. It's not, 54%, and that's the sound. It doesn't work that way. So I'd encourage you to practice with a volume pedal. Start out very simply. It can be really weird to add, your foot playing guitar with you. But I've definitely gotten to a point where I don't think about it. It's part of the attack of the note that I'm hitting. I'm really used to it as being part of my expression. So I think there's a lot of benefit to using a volume pedal. You can definitely do things like volume swells. I grew up playing a Strat, and I was loving, what Jeff Beck does with a Strat volume knob, and I've done that plenty. You can do it on this guitar. However, my opinion is just that my hands are busy enough playing slide guitar that having my foot take care of something else is a really good way to go. So that's just some of my 2 cents. Maybe the best example, and the last thing I'll leave you with here in this video, and this might be one of the best things to practice with your volume pedal, is the intro to one of my favorite songs, "'Cause We've Ended as Lovers" by Jeff Beck. You might recognize this studio that I'm in right now from my band's performance of this song right here. We put a video out about 6 months ago. And in the beginning of that performance, I'm doing exactly what I'm about to show you, which is that initial volume swell that Jeff does. And he's doing it the good old-fashioned way, right? They've both been around for a while, that's for sure. But he's definitely using the volume pot on his guitar. That's great. I'm going to use the volume pedal for this. And check this out. This is simply you're bending. Obviously, we're playing slide, so we're not really bending. But we're going to play a D that goes down to a C. And you can kind of bend up to it first. You can slide up to it. But check this out. This might be the best way to start with your volume pedal if you're new to it. So what you can see, and the sort of magical thing that I love about this, is that because of that initial tone that we talked about, where it's pretty driven by the time we, are, when everything's open wide, it's pretty overdriven. You get this really cool thing that happens where when you step into a note enough, it sort of blooms, or you get this amount of gain where, oh wow, the note sounds different than when it was clean a moment ago. And that's the thing that to me is most expressive, kind of exciting. The note also doesn't strike you as being super distorted. At least I find, I don't know, I'm also playing blues and gospel stuff, where we don't mind if it's distorted. But I think that that is kind of the most important thing, is having your different notches, getting comfortable with where those are, with whatever amp you're playing through, but leaving your amp set so that if everything's wide open, it's pretty distorted, and then you have all of that to work with from there. You can always clean it up. That is the secret to how I use the volume pedal. I hope that this helped out quite a bit. I know that it's kind of a funny, there are a lot of pedals and things that are kind of more exciting, and then some that are sort of less exciting. I think of like an EQ pedal or a compressor or maybe a volume pedal as being sort of less exciting. But man, those are some of the most important pedals you can really get to know and use in your own sound. If you haven't yet already been using a volume pedal, I really recommend you try one out. I love this one. I've had the Ernie Ball volume pedals before, but the problem for me with those is that they have this little string that breaks. And I've just gone through so many of those strings. You can replace those, but dang gummit, it's just a little frustrating to replace those a lot. So I use the volume pedal all the time. The one that I use is the Dunlop Volume X. I definitely recommend it. And yeah, just hope that that is an illuminating lesson for you on how I use the volume pedal. Show me a video of how you use yours. I'd love to see how you guys do it out there. Thank you guys so much for checking out this YouTube video today. I mentioned my Masterclass courses already. Those help fuel this YouTube channel and keep the lights on here. So please, if you can, check those out. I know you'll enjoy those. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet, and I'll see you at the next video.